What's up guys, welcome to the timeline of Phoenix Suns channel. I wanted to start this one off first by saying thank you to the many new viewers and subscribers who discovered this channel over the past couple weeks. It's been a hectic off-season period, but it's a really good sign that the Suns fanbase is as engaged online as either Mike or myself have ever seen. And so many people liked our free agent preview series that we got some requests to cover the last few signings in the same style. I figured 10 minutes on any one of these smaller signings was probably overkill, so instead, why not take the recent signings of Langston Galloway, ETwaun Moore, and Damian Jones and package them into one video? That's how we got to where we are today. This is Roll Call, where we'll be examining some of these veteran minimum deals and trying to figure out what value these guys will be bringing to the Suns. Let's get started. Up first is former Pistons guard Langston Galloway, who signed a one-year minimum deal a few days ago. Galloway technically began his career as a point guard, but has primarily pivoted to shooting guard for the past few seasons in Detroit. He's most effective playing off-ball as a shooter and knocked down a career-high 40% of his threes this season on 5 attempts per game. He was especially lethal in the corners, where he shot 54%. The Suns had just one 40% three-point shooter last season for comparison in Jevon Carter, so adding another guy, even in a potentially limited role, can only be a good thing for building spacing around Booker and CP3 in the backcourt. Galloway is not an advanced finisher or passer, but coming from that point guard background, he's shown enough flashes of being able to put the ball on the floor and attack closeouts. And defensively, he can be quite solid too, leveraging his 6'8" wingspan to play up on bigger guards despite his lack of height. Let's quickly now shift over to ETwaun Moore, a guy who is going to bring much of the same skill set as Galloway. Again, here's another lights out shooter, a guy who shot 41.2% on catch and shoot threes last year. Remember, Moore is a guy who's only 2 years removed from being a full-time starting shooting guard for the New Orleans Pelicans. While his most productive seasons are likely behind him, his consistent shooting means he still has plenty to offer an NBA team as a veteran. One thing that does distinguish Moore from Galloway is Moore's finishing touch. He's much more likely to attack the basket, though he almost always opts for a floater as opposed to drawing contact. His floater is good though, and its consistency means that you can also trust that Moore will attack closeouts and find holes in the defense. Just like Galloway, Moore is not a major playmaker, but he does have a 2.0 assist to turnover ratio, which is yet another perk. One major pattern that you can see here developing, James Jones from top to bottom wants guys who make smart decisions with the ball in their hands, and we can see that in these transactions. Moore is also a little bit less polished than Galloway on the defensive end, though his 6'9" wingspan still allows him to break up plays and be at least a little bit annoying. He also has a history of being scrappy, so add him to the list of Suns that are likely to piss off opposing players and fans at some point this season. He's not afraid to get in someone's face if he wants to. The last point that I want to say to bring it back around about both Galloway and Moore is that there's more to their shooting than you can find on a stat sheet or in the box score. It's good to look at a player's shooting percentages, but shot difficulty also always has to be a consideration. In other words, the reason to get excited about these two signings isn't because Moore and Galloway can hit 40% of their open corner threes. The reason to get excited is because both of these guys are agile enough to come off screens and still knock down shots at a high clip. Last season, the Suns had just two shooters capable of running off a screen, Cam Johnson and Devin Booker. Adding Moore and Galloway doubles that total, giving Monty Williams the flexibility to run lineups with multiple movement shooters at multiple positions. Let's not forget the rookie Jalen Smith either, who showed some potential for this type of shooting in college as well. Having this many difficult shot makers can completely open up your offense, and it's something that makes Phoenix's roster pretty unique heading into 2021. Finally, let's transition now to the big man, veteran signing Damian Jones. I've seen some Suns fans online liken this to being a Sheik Diallo replacement, but there are a few differences that I want to get into. For one, Diallo's only got a small fraction of the vertical athleticism of Jones, who is a highlight machine with his vicious dunks and blocks. Whereas Sheik is a skinny 4'5" hybrid, Jones is a true 5, standing at 245 pounds and featuring a freakish 7'4" wingspan. Now, similar to Shaq, it's true that Damian Jones has a pretty basic offensive palette. This guy has no touch. He doesn't have a post game, he doesn't have a short jumper, and he definitely doesn't have a three-point shot. His offensive game is literally just layups and dunks. But the good news is he rolls to the rim with serious integrity and is simply too fast and too athletic for some of the game's more lumbering bigs. Jones finished in the 95th percentile as a pick-and-roll finisher this year, and I guarantee you a big reason why the Suns just picked him up is right here in these clips. This is an early November game, Atlanta vs. Phoenix, and because DeAndre Ayton is more busy with urinating than he is with dominating at this point in time, it's Aaron Baines in the starting spot. Damian Jones continually found open cracks in the defense, dunking again and again until he had 14 points in just 18 minutes. Going up against guys like Baines and Kaminsky is perfect for him as an agile lob threat. And if you put too much pressure on the ball handler, whether that's Trae Young or Chris Paul, then Jones is going to pick up some easy points. As for defense, Jones is coming in to play an obvious enforcer and rim protector role. He averages 1.8 blocks per 36 minutes for his career and held opponents to just 54% shooting within 6 feet of the basket this year. That's a solid 6% under league average. That said, Jones is not exactly a polished defender, even if he is a terrific athlete. And here's a clip that I think demonstrates his strengths and weaknesses pretty well. Jarrett Culver works to get the switch and brings Jones into open space, and then easily shakes him off with a single hesitation dribble. You can see moving east to west, that's going to be Jones's big weakness. But also, notice how as soon as he turns and trails the play, and it shifts to a north-south movement orientation, Jones is more than capable of coming from behind, bridging that space for the swat. The point is that Jones is not as coordinated laterally as, say, DeAndre Ayton, but his end-to-end speed and his leaping ability is going to make up for it to erase a lot of his mistakes. The big thing that he has to work on is simply not fouling. Jones averaged 6 fouls per 36 minutes last season. He can start in a pinch if you're desperate, but even in those situations, he's usually only getting 15 or 20 minutes before he finds himself in foul trouble. Overall, this is a guy that's there to bring an edge. He's here to set the tone. And while he's not going to blow you away with his skills, he has a solid enough grasp of the fundamentals that it's going to lead to some amazing highlights. Wrapping up for today, let me just reiterate that none of these 3 guys coming in are going to be a savior for this team. That's not the point, and that's not why we just spent close to 10 minutes talking about them. The point is that these are functional NBA role players that the Suns were able to pick off from other teams for almost nothing, all because they want to buy into a system and help a playoff team. The point is that a couple of years ago, a guy like Langston Galloway might have been your second or third best player after Devin Booker. Now, he's closer to 10th, and that depth is a major privilege. Don't forget it. Drop a comment below, as always, to leave your thoughts on these guys, and if you're a Suns fan and you're not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? I'll talk to you guys next time.